Ayan. So, recording na tayo. Again, dito muna tayo titingin, no, sa ebook na to. Yung Fundamentals of Financial Management. Guys, nire-record ko na yung meeting natin. Please stop yung recording dito sa Teams kasi parang apektado yung kung sino man yung nag-record. Ayan. So, external yung pag-record natin nung meeting natin dito. Okay, ayan. The recording is being saved. Okay. Ayan. So, dito na lang tayo sa OBS Studio mag-record kasi ayun. Minsan pangit din yung quality tapos bumabagal yung internet. Okay. Ayan. I-upload ko naman to dun sa sa canvas nyo. Don't worry. Kung sino man yung nag-record. Okay. Tara. Again hindi ko kasi ma-access yung Mindtap sa ngayon dahil nga siguro sa internet ko. Ayan. So, dito muna tayo titingin. Same book naman to. Ibang edition nga lang. Okay. So, kung binasa mo yung libro, okay lang. Maganda. Very good ka doon. Okay. Tara. Yun pala, no? Ayan. Tingnan muna natin yung syllabus. Kung bakit ba kailangan balikan natin tong topics na to. Yung interest rates, tsaka yung overview ng investments. Bago tayo mag-start nung bond and stock valuation. Tingnan mo dito, no? Ayan. So, first week dapat nga, nag-discuss na tayo, no? Kaya lang, orientation muna since adjustment period pa lang. Then, nung second week, nung walang kuryente sa amin, sorry na. Ayan, investments dapat pinag-usapan na natin. So, ang target natin for today, itong dalawang topics na to. Revisiting relevant topics from financial management 1, tsaka itong investments, so parang background sa investments. Okay, ano ba kasi yan? Magagamit ba natin to doon sa totoong focus ng financial markets na subject? Yes, okay. Dito mo yan magagamit, no? Bond valuation. Then, stock valuation. Okay. Ayan. So, makikita mo rito sa bond valuation yung mga kakaibang topics na medyo kakabahan ka pagka unang tingin mo pa lang sa kanya. Yan, yung mga yield to maturity, yield to call, yung mga yan. Tapos dito, capital asset pricing model, security market line. Yan, discounted approaches in stock valuation. So, kung makikita mo siya, first time, medyo kakabahan ka, no? Ganon din ako nung undergrad ako. Ayan. Tapos, ang hilig ko pa nun, hindi talaga ako nag-advance reading bago pumasok ng klase. So, pag nag-discuss na yung professor namin nun, nga ako, hindi ako makasunod. Okay, kahit makinig ako ng husto, hindi ko na-absorb. Bakit? Kasi first time ko ma-encounter yung mga terms na yan. Noon nga, no, hindi ako nagbubuklat man lang ng syllabus. So, wala talaga akong idea kung ano ba yung pinag-uusapan sa classroom. Okay, mali ko yun. So, ngayon, gusto kong sabihin sa'yo na wag mo akong gagayahin. Okay? Dapat hanggat maaari, bago tayo mag-start ng lesson, may idea ka na o nakapagbasa ka na. Okay? Sa topic natin. Okay? Ayan. Kaya lang, alam ko rin na mabigat yung semester mo ngayon. Marami kang subjects na kasabay. Tama ba yun? Tama yun, no? Lagi naman mabigat yung semester natin. Accountancy students tayo eh. Puro basa ng basa. So, baka mahirapan tayo maghanap ng time para kay financial markets. Okay, pwedeng mangyari yun, no? Pero, advice ko sa'yo, wag mo siyang isang tabi since included to sa boards mo. Yung pinaghahandaan mo. Ngayon pa lang, no? Okay, ngayon kung wala kang time o kung mahirapan kang humanap ng time para magbasa, i-share ko sa'yo yung secret ko nung undergrad. Okay. Dahil nga hindi ako nakakapagbasa noon bago pumasok sa classroom. Tapos, quiz na o may parating na exam, hindi ko pa masyadong na-absorb o nagagrasp yung topic. Okay. Tapos, ayun pa, no? Face-to-face yung classes noon. So, mas mahirap mag-aral, no? And, hindi ka pwedeng tumingin sa index cards mo. Talagang, memorize mo yung formulas, i-absorb mo yung topic, tsaka mag-exam. So, kailangan talaga magbabasa ka nun, di ba? Okay. Yun nga, since walang time, naghanap ako ngayon sa YouTube kung paano ba gawin yung mga topics na included dun sa quiz. Dun ko nakilala tong ano na to, no? Yung channel na to. Mapapansin nyo, luma na siya. 8 years ago yung videos niya. Okay. Ang pangalan niya is mbasomething.com. So, hindi natin babanggitin yung something kasi nga baka maano tayo, no? Baka mabatas tayo. Okay, ito basahin mo na lang. mbasomething.com. So, suggest ko mag-subscribe ka dito or check mo yung videos niya para sa mga upcoming topics natin. Bakit? Sobrang simple kasi ng approach niya. Makikita mo dito yung mga topics na nakita mo dito sa syllabus natin. Aatakihin niya ng mas simple. Okay? Huwag ka daw mag-alala. Sa unang tingin lang yan mahirap. Totoo naman, no? Sa unang tingin lang siya mahirap. Yan sineshare ko sa inyo yung secret ko nung undergrad. Okay? Kahit hindi ako magbasa masyado, basta mapakinggan ko yung lecture nitong channel na to. Nasusurvive ko yung quizzes. Okay? Pero yun nga, no, hanggat maaari, bago tayo mag-lesson, magbasa ka or pakinggan mo yung lectures niya ni mbasomething.com. Okay? Ayan. Take note mo siya. Matutulungan ka niyan, promise. Ayan. So, makikita mo dito yung mga iba't ibang Finman topics. Yan, 10 years ago. Buti na lang talaga, lumabas yung channel na to ng maaga. Dito talaga ako kumapit nun eh. Bukod sa, sa index card, sa mga, nagbabasa rin naman ako. Okay, kaya lang nga, hindi enough yung time. Okay. Ayan. So, tara, masyado nang naging mahaba yung natin dito, no? Kay mbasomething.com. Yan. Puntahan na natin yung yung goal natin for today, which is yun nga, interest rates tsaka yung investments. Overview lang. Okay, pero next meeting, puntahan natin both ito, bond valuation and stock valuation. Okay? Try natin tapusin natin yung dalawa na yan. And yun nga, sabi ko sa'yo, dapat magbasa ka muna bago tayo mag-discuss para dito sa dalawang topics na to. Okay? Tara. Ayan. Ayan. Financial assets. Yung yung portion na to ng libro. Unang topic nga. Ano ba yan? Tumulo na. Wait, off ko na nga yung camera. Ayan, para hindi nyo na makita yung pag-inom ko ng tubig. Okay lang ba? Okay lang yan. Okay. Interest rates. Tapos next, bonds and their valuation. Next naman, risk and rates of return. Tapos, stock and their valuation. Again, same lang to nung ebook nyo. Magkaiba lang ng pagkakasunod-sunod. And ginamit nga natin itong ebook na to since hindi ko mabuksan yung Mindtab sa ngayon. Okay, ayan. So, interest rates. Hindi na natin babasahin to, no? Medyo mahaba siya. Punta tayo dito sa putting things in perspective. Yan. Zoom in ko lang para mas makita mo. Ayan, nawala na siya. Anong nangyari? Nawala. Time value of money na yata ito. Okay, anong nangyari? Aha. Ayan. Okay. Putting things in perspective. Basahin lang natin to, no? Companies raise capital in two main forms, debt and equity. Okay. So, sulat nga natin dito yung anong tawag dito? Accounting equation. Nasaan yung drawing natin dito? Okay, pwede na yan. Accounting equation, alam mo naman to, no? Assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Okay. So, alin ba dito yung mga ginagamit mo for for your operations? So, aling part yan? Aling part ng accounting equation? Malamang yung assets yun, no? More particular yung non-current assets. So, dito kasi papasok yung mga PPE, yung mga planta, yung mga makinarya na gagamitin mo sa production mo. So, malamang ano to, no? Non-current assets na part. Okay. Ngayon, yung assets na yan, kailangan niya ng pondo. Okay. Paano mo ba siya mabibili? May two sources ka ng funds, no? Pwede kang mangutang, liabilities, and pwede kang mag-raise ng capital in form of stocks or ayan, retained earnings. So yung dalawang sources na yan ng capital, may cost yan. Okay? Yung liabilities and equity. So dito sa paragraph na to, makikita natin ano ba yung tawag sa costs ng dalawa na yan. Okay? Yan. In a free economy, capital, like other items, is allocated through a market system where funds are transferred and prices are established. The interest rate is the price that lenders receive and borrowers pay for debt capital. Okay, ano ba yung debt dyan? Liabilities yun, di ba? And ano daw yung tawag sa cost ng debt? Cost of debt? Interest. Okay, because this is the price that lenders receive o yung nare-receive ng mga nagpapautang and the borrowers pay, yung binabayaran ng mga nangungutang. Okay? Ang cost nito is interest. Okay. Then, equity naman. Wala, nabura pati yung highlight. Okay. So, basahin na lang natin, no? Equity, similarly, equity investors expect to receive dividends and capital gains, the sum of which represents the cost of equity. So, yung cost of equity naman ay dividends and capital gains. And capital gains. Ano ba yan? Ayan. Okay. So, i-take note mo na to, no? Kasi pag nangutang ka, syempre, babayaran mo yung bukod dun sa principal ng utang mo, yung interest na ano tawag dito? May incur mo. Okay? Then, pag equity naman, yung investors, mag-expect yan ng dividends or capital gains. So, may costs din yan. Okay? So, tuloy natin, no? Yung cost of equity, pag-uusapan natin yan dun sa susunod pa na chapters. So, sa chapter na to, interest muna. Kaya nga, interest yung topic natin. Yung title ng chapter na to. Interest rates. Okay? Na-define na natin yung interest rate. No? Yan yung cost of debt. Okay, paano ba ito tanggalin? Wala, ayaw mo tanggal. Hindi ko tuloy makita yung tabs. Okay. Titingnan kasi natin to eh. Paano ba ito matanggal? Ayan, natanggal na siya. Okay. Ayan. Makikita mo dito no sa syllabus natin, interest rates nga. Yung topic natin for today. Breakdown siya dito. Sa definition of interest rates, na-define na natin, no? Interest rates, yan yung binabayaran ni binabayaran ni borrower kay lender. Okay, and yan nga yung cost of debt, interest. Okay, then next natin na gagawin, bago tayo pumunta dito sa nominal interest and effective interest, tingnan muna natin yung components ng nominal interest. Okay. Nominal interest, other term dyan is yung coupon rate. Okay, take note mo, no? Coupon rate or stated rate. Okay, coupon rate kasi 'di ba, yung bonds tinatawag din na coupon bonds. So doon nakalagay yung stated rate. Tinatawag din coupon rate. Bonds, alam mo 'yan, yan yung non-current liability, no? Na ini-issue ng companies pag gusto nilang mag-raise ng capital in form of debt. Okay, bonds. Yan nga yung pag-uusapan natin doon sa bond valuation. Okay? So, yun nga. Take note mo, nominal rate, other term is coupon rate or stated rate. Okay? Dito sa syllabus natin, kailangan daw makita natin yung components of nominal interest rates. Okay, pakita natin dito yung components ng nominal interest rate. Nasaan ka na? Lumagpas ba ako? Ayan. Okay, the determinants of market interest rates. So, basahin natin to. In general, the quoted or nominal interest rate on a debt security is composed of the real risk-free rate, or R plus, R star, plus several premiums that reflect inflation, the security's risk, its liquidity or marketability, and the years to its maturity. So, ito daw yun, components ng nominal interest rate, no? Yung quoted interest rate, denoted by R, is equal to R star plus inflation premium. Pero dito, no, inisa-isa naman siya, no? So, dito na lang natin tingnan. Okay, si R, yan nga si quoted interest rate. Si R star, which is the real risk-free rate of interest. Pangatlo is itong, ito muna, default risk premium. Si DRP. Tapos, si liquidity or marketability premium. Tapos, si maturity risk premium. Tsaka si inflation premium. Okay. Dito may makikita ka pang isang element, yung RF. Okay, mamaya daanan natin siya. Okay, yun yung components no nominal interest rate. Pero ito medyo theoretical na siya. Tingnan na lang natin yung definition ng bawat isa. R is the quoted or nominal rate of interest on a given security. Tingnan mo dito yung yung footnote. The term nominal, as it is used here, means that stated rate as opposed to the real rate. Okay? Stated rate as opposed to the real rate. Okay? Take note mo yan. No? Nominal is the stated rate, where the real rate is adjusted to remove inflation's effects. Okay? Real rate, other term naman ito is effective interest rate. Okay? Yung real rate daw is adjusted to remove the inflation's effects. Okay, saan ba dito yung inflation? Ayun, si inflation premium. Okay, take note mo yan. Next natin is R star, the real risk-free rate of interest. Yan. R star is pronounced as R star nga. Yan. And it is the rate that would exist on a riskless security in a world where no inflation was expected. Okay. So, R star, kapag walang risk totally, no? And wala ring inflation. Ngayon, dito nagbigay na example, no? Kaya lang, yung R star ay dinagdagan ng inflation premium. Nakuha itong RF o yung risk-free na rate. Risk-free Take note mo, ito risk-free lang. Ito naman, real risk-free. Okay? So, dito kasing yung real risk-free rate, wala siyang inflation premium. Ito namang risk-free rate, meron siyang inflation premium. Okay? Ayan. It is the quoted rate on a risk-free security such as US Treasury bill, which is very liquid and is free from most types of risk. Note that the premium for expected inflation is included in RRF. Okay, so kasama dito yung inflation premium. Ngayon, kung pasisimplihin natin yung formula na nasa taas, and i-combine na natin yung dalawang ito, makikita mo yung formula sa baba. Dito, nakapresent. Ayan. Nominal or quoted rate is equal to R, is equal to risk-free rate plus default risk premium plus liquidity, premium, tapos maturity risk premium. Okay? May mga nakikita ka ng formula, no? Sulat mo na sa index card mo. Sinulat mo na? Very good. Okay, ayan. Isa-isahin pa natin, no? Next natin, inflation premium is equal to the average expected rate of inflation over the life of the security. Take note mo, average expected rate of inflation. Ayan. The expected future inflation, ayan, may nag-record ulit. Please paki-stop yung recording since nagre-record na tayo separately. Okay, thank you. Ayan. Ayan. The expected future inflation rate is not necessarily equal to the current inflation rate. So IP is not necessarily equal to the current inflation. Okay. Next natin, default risk premium. This premium reflects the possibility that the issuer will not pay the promised interest or principal at the stated time. Default, alam mo ba yung meaning ng default? Ibig sabihin yung, hindi siya nakabayad. Default or, ayan. Hindi siya nakabayad sa stated time. Okay, delay. Ayan. So, ang ibig sabihin ng default risk premium, yung risk premium in case na magkaroon ng default si ating borrower. DRP is 0 for US Treasury securities, but it rises as the riskiness of the issuer increases. So, laging nababanggit yung Treasury securities, Ito kasi, backed by, funds. So, ibig sabihin, yung US Treasury notes and the bills na yan, wala siyang default risk. Ibig sabihin, babayaran yan ng government. Okay? Kahit anong mangyayari. Okay. Kaya yan, binibigay siya na example dito. US Treasury securities. Treasury notes or Treasury bills. Pag notes, short term. Pag bill, long term. Okay? Alam mo yan, familiar ka na dyan. Financial accounting. Next natin, LP, liquidity or marketability premium. This is a premium charged by lenders to reflect the fact that some securities cannot be converted to cash on short notice at a reasonable price. Liquidity premium is very low for Treasury securities and for securities issued by large, strong firms, but it is relatively high on securities issued by small, privately held firms. Maturity risk premium. Yan. Longer-term bonds, even Treasury bonds, are exposed to significant risk of price declines due to increases in inflation and interest rates. And maturity risk premium is charged by lenders to reflect this risk. Yeah. So sabi ko nga kanina, medyo theoretical yung components ng nominal interest rate. Pero at least yan, familiar ka na ngayon. Ano ba yung mga components nitong nominal interest rate? Okay? Ayan. So pag binasa mo yan, medyo mahaba. Yan. Nakalatag naman dyan yung pati ito, yung almost riskless treasury bond. Okay, basahin mo na lang to pag may time ka. Okay. Ayan. Inisa-isa dyan yung components niya nung nominal interest rate. Okay. So, check na natin dito si components. Yan pala. Si components of nominal interest rates. Okay. Ngayon, kapag medyo research ka pa ng mas malalim about dito, sa components ng nominal interest rate, makikita mo minsan yung yung Fisher equation na tinatawag. So, kung saan si effective interest rate daw, makukuha natin yung estimate niya by subtracting yung nominal interest. So, sulat natin dito. So, pwede nating additional info lang, yung Fisher equation. Okay, baka kasi may lumabas sa theory part, kung sakali mang departmental sa exam, At least kilala mo rin si Fisher equation. So, sabi niya, pwede nating may estimate yung ating effective rate by subtracting yung nominal and yung inflation rate. Okay. So, bakit kaya na-conclude niya yan? So, sabihin natin, meron kang 1,000 pesos ngayon na pinautang mo sa kaibigan mo at a rate of 5%. So, yung 5% na yan yung nominal interest rate mo, no? Okay? Then, sabihin natin, ang current inflation is 3%. Okay. So, yan yung given. Ngayon, let's say, sa end ng taon, sabihin natin 1 year mo siya pinautang, no? At the end of the year, babayaran ka ng friend mo ng 1,000, which is yung principal, plus yung 5% na interest. So, magkano yan? 1,000 times 1.5. 1.05. 1,050. Okay? Yung ibabayad sa'yo nung kaibigan mo. Yung 50 ba yan? Yung 15 na yan ba? Yan na talaga yung kinita mo. Okay? Yan ba yon? Hindi, no? Hindi mo masasabing 50 talaga yung kinita nung pinautang mo sa kanya. Bakit? Meron kasing inflation. So, yung inflation, pag tinake into account natin, yung 1,000 pesos na pinautang mo today, after 1 year, ang katumbas na niyan is 1,030. Paano nakuha yun? 1,000 times 1.03. So, 1,030. So, in effect, parang ang tinubo lang talaga ng pera mo is yung 1,050 minus 1,030, 20 pesos lang. Okay? Parang ganyan, no? Yung rough estimate. So, itong 20 pesos na to, pwede mong sabihin yan yung effective interest rate. Okay? Effective interest. So, para makuha mo yung rate, divide mo lang siya, no? 20 divided by 1,000. Makukuha mo yung 2% na estimate ng na effective rate. Estimate lang to rough estimate. Okay. Try mo nga gawin yung Fisher equation. Nominal rate minus inflation rate. Nominal rate is 5% minus inflation rate na 3%. Nakuha mo 2%. Estimated effective rate. Okay. Pero yun nga estimate lang yan para makuha mo talaga kung magkano yung effective rate. So, ang gawin mo dito, kuhanin mo itong 1,050 na ibabayad sa iyo ng kaibigan mo. Kung magbabayad talaga siya ng utang, no? Ganun ba yung mga kaibigan natin? Parang hindi, no? Kailangan pa pinopost sa social media bago magbayad. Char lang. Okay. So, yan. 1,050. Yun yung babayad sa iyo. Tapos, yung amount plus inflation. 1,000. Yung rate natin is 3%, no? 1,030. So, pag divided mo sila, sumulat ka. Ayan. So, makukuha mo 1.0194. Okay? So, itong decimal na to, yan yung effective interest rate. Pwede natin i-convert into percentage, no? So, 1.94%, round off mo na lang, 2%. Okay, 'di ba? Parang rough estimate talaga itong sinabi ni Fisher, no? Ni Fisher equation. Okay. Ayan, so makikita mo dito at least yung relationship ng inflation rate tsaka ng effective rate. Okay? Ayan. Sige. Okay. So, para dito sa nominal interest rate and effective interest rate, share ko sa inyo yung pre-test namin noon sa financial management na class ko last semester. And yung recording namin dun sa solution. So, naging solution nung pre-test na yun. Okay, pero hindi to included sa grades, no? Pang-practice mo na lang siya. Since, ayan nga, hindi naman ito, parang lang to, no? Parang recap lang to nung nagyaring lectures nung last semester. Okay, so para meron kang practice, panoorin mo yung, solve mo muna pala yung pre-test, tapos panoorin mo yung solution. Actually, dapat last week ko pa siya ginawa, no? Kaya lang nawalan din ng kuryente nga sa amin. Tapos naging busy ako nung succeeding days. Okay, so ngayon lang natin siya ma-upload. Don't worry, hindi nga siya included sa grading nyo. Pang-practice mo lang siya. Para sa time value of money rin, no? Okay. Ayan. Ano pa ba ang na-miss natin dito? Nominal interest rate. So, siguro, i-relate na natin sa magiging, pwedeng maging problems sa pagkuha ng market price ng bonds. Okay. Gagamitin natin yung knowledge natin dito sa time value of money. Kasi most probably, magpe-present value ka rin dito sa subject na to. So, dapat talaga ma-refresh ka rin doon sa time value of money na subject natin. Okay? Ayan. Sige, magbigay tayo dito ng sample na bond. Hanapin natin yung market price niya. So, may space pa ba dito? Ayan. Ito Fisher equation, no? Note mo na lang din sa index card mo. Okay, saan tayo hanap ng space? Ayan, dito na lang. Galing na multipurpose yung syllabus natin. Ayan, pen. So, let's say meron tayong bond na 1,000 yung face value. Tapos, 8 years into maturity. Tapos, 5% yung nominal rate. Nominal rate or pwede mo sabihin stated rate. At ano pa yung isa nating term? Coupon rate. Yan yung nominal. Makita mo dito. Ayan. Isa lang yan. Tapos, yung effective rate is 6% effective. So, ito, depende sa scenario. Pwede mong gamitin sa case natin yung yield to maturity na term. So, ibig sabihin, kapag hinawakan ito for 8 years, yung magiging, pag hinawakan itong 1,000 na bond for 8 years, yung magiging yield niya to maturity is itong 6%. Okay, so sa case natin, same si effective at si yield to maturity. Okay, so pwede mo siyang interchangeable din yung terms na yan. Effective rate, yield to maturity, ano pa bang pwede dyan? Market rate, okay, ng interest. Okay, suburayin lang natin to. Tapos, annually, yung compounding. Oy. Ayan, annually. Okay, so, hanapin natin dito, what is the market price of the bond? Market price ng bond. Okay. Ito parang overview mo sa magiging topics natin. Pero, in actuality, recap to nung financial accounting subject mo. Okay? So, ang una natin gagawin, hanapin natin yung present value ng principal. Okay? So, yung principal natin is yung 1,000 nga. Para hanapin yung present value niyan, naalala mo pa ba yung present value factor? Yung pag-compute ng present value factor. Okay. So, ganito yun, Kaya lang, basic calculator sana yung gamitin mo. Okay? Kasi nga, bawal na yung scientific calculator sa boards. And yung ipapakita ko nga na video lecture na ginawa namin last SEM, basic calculator yung ginamit namin doon. Okay? Pero, ayun, for now, hanapin lang muna natin yung present value factor na to. Game, kuhanin mo yung calculus mo. Scientific man yan, o abacus, o basic calculator. Okay, nakuha mo ba yung present value factor natin? 0.6 to 4 decimal places na lang, 7, 4. Ganyan ba yung nakuha mo? Very good. Okay, anong gagawin mo ngayon dyan? Multiply mo dun sa 1,000 na principal. So, multiply mo sa 1,000, makukuha mo yung present value ng principal na 627.4. Okay. Ayan. Tapos ka na ba? Hindi pa. Kasi meron ka pang interest dito, yung nominal interest mo na 5%. Present value mo rin ba yan? Yes. Ano gagawin mo dyan? Present value of 1 ba? Hindi, no? Present value of annuity. Ordinary or due? Ordinary. Bakit? Silent yung problem, no? Okay. Kapag ordinary annuity, sana natatandaan mo paano kuhanin yung present value factor. Again, kung hindi mo siya natatandaan kung paano kuhanin using your basic calculator, panoorin mo yung video na i-share ko sa Canvas nyo. Okay? Ayan. Itong una pala na to, principal. And ito naman, for interest. Pasensya na guys, medyo sabog, no? Yung lecture natin. At pala, nag-prepare ako ng separate na whiteboard para dito. Pero okay lang yan. Review na lang naman to. Present value factor kapag ordinary annuity, sana tanda mo siya, no? 1 less 1 plus I, which is yung 0.06, raised to negative 8 over I, which is 0.06. Again, gamitin mo yung basic calculator mo sa pag-compute ng present value factor na yan. Bakit? Kasi pinaghahandaan natin yung boards. Hindi ka pwedeng gumamit ng scientific calculator sa boards. So kung ngayon natetempt ka na mag-scientific calculator, bahala ka. Okay? Mahirapan ka kasi mag-adjust pagka andun ka na sa board exam. Kaya ito, palagi kong sinasabi, ang paghandaan mo yung boards. Okay? Tumingin ka doon. Focus ka doon. Sabi nga ni Rendon, no? Nakikita mo yung goal mo? Focus. Okay? Lahat ng walang kinalaman doon sa goal, iwan. Kasama na doon yung scientific calculator mo. Okay? So, iwan yung scientific calculator natin. Kasi nga, hindi mo siya pwedeng dalhin sa boards. Hindi mo siya pwedeng gamitin. Okay? Ayan. So, kinompute mo na ba habang dumadaldal ako dito? Sana kinompute mo na yung present value factor, no? Ayan. Ang nakuha ko is 6 point, ganun pa rin, no? 4 decimal places. 2098. Yan ba nakuha mo? Kung hindi ito yung nakuha mo, raise mo na lang yung hand mo or mag-unmute ka. Pero kung ito yung nakuha mo, tuloy natin. Ayan. Anong gagawin ngayon natin sa present value factor na yan? Tama, i-multiply natin saan? Doon sa interest na due annually, no? At the end of every year. Kuhanin nga natin, magkano yung interest? 1,000 face value. Saan mo i-multiply? Sa nominal o sa effective? Sa nominal. Very good. Yun kasi yung stated or coupon rate. Okay, so 1,000 times 5%, makakuha mo 50 yung interest, no? So, times 50. Tama ba? 50. Tama, no? Okay. 6.2098 times 50. Makakuha mo dyan 310.49. Yan ba nakuha mo? Very good. Anong gagawin mo ngayon dyan? I-add mo doon sa present value ng principal, which is 627.4. Okay. Pag-add mo silang dalawa, para makuha mo yung market price ng bond. 627.4 plus 310.49. Ganun tayo, no? Parang standard na rin to nung undergrad ko pa. 4 decimal places pag kukuha ka ng present value factor. Okay? So, kung departmentals man yung maging exam, para mas safe ka, 4 decimal places gamitin mo. Okay? Malinaw tayo dun, ha? Okay? Minsan kasi nagkakaroon ng straight probs, no? Sa departmentals. So, kapag may difference ka, kahit decimal, kung hindi mo sinunod yung preferred na 4 decimal places for present value factors or future value factors, baka mag-iba yung sagot mo and magdelikado ka pa. Okay, so ang nakuha natin is 937.89 market price ng bond. Okay, again, recap lang to nung alam mo na sa financial accounting. Okay, ayan. Sana sinundan mo, no? And ayan, nakita mo, mas mababa siya kaysa dun sa face amount, which is 1,000. Kapag ganito, anong tawag natin dyan? Discount. Okay, very good. So, yung bond natin is issued at a discount. Okay, so anong manonote mo dito? Nung mas malaki yung effective rate kaysa dun sa nominal rate, discount. Okay, susulat natin dito. Nung mas malaki yung effective kaysa sa nominal, discount. Okay. Alam mo rin naman to. Recap lang tayo. Baka naiinis ka na sa akin kasi paulit-ulit tayo. Okay. Ngayon, pwede ba nating sabihin na kapag yung effective is mas maliit o less than the nominal rate, ano yung kabaligtaran ng discount? Premium, ano? At a premium. Issued at a premium. Pwede ba natin sabihin yan? Yes. So, try natin, no? Mag-solve tayo. So, palitan natin yung effective rate ng 4%. Okay. So, ganun pa rin yung given. Ang pinagkaiba lang, 4% interest rate. Effective. Or yield to maturity. Okay, tatry lang natin, no? Kung talaga bang magiging at a premium. Pag sinabing at a premium, mas malaki. Excuse me. Yung market price ng bond kaysa dun sa face amount niya. Okay? So, tingnan natin. Dapat mas malaki sa 1,000 yung makuha natin. Okay. So, try natin. Present value of principal. Kuhanin natin, no? Ganito pa rin yung gagamitin na formula. Okay? 1 plus I. 1 plus 0.04 sa case natin. Since ito nga yung effective natin, no? Raised to negative 8. Okay? Yung 8, yan yung period natin. Kasi parang napansin ko may bagong dating. May nadagdag na student dito sa group natin. Okay. Yung 8, yan yung years, no? Number of years until maturity. So, kuhanin mo nga ulit yung present value factor natin. Factor. Factor pa lang to, no? 4 decimal places. Ang nakuha ko ay 0.7307. Okay. Same ba tayong nakuha? Pag hindi, paki-raise yung hand mo. Check ko lang din yung sagot ko. Okay. So, tama naman, no? Present value na factor, ang gagawin mo dyan, multiply mo doon sa 1,000. Uy, sumobra yung 0. Okay, ayan. Times 1,000, makukuha mo ay 730.7. Tapos ka na ba? Hindi pa. Kailangan pang kuhanin yung present value ng interest. So, ganun ulit. Kuhanin mo yung present value factor. Ito yung formula. Ito. Kuhanin nga natin yung ibang kulay para mas cute. Ayan. Okay. Kita mo na, no? 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n over I. Okay, hindi na natin sinulat dito yung formulas. No, kasi same din naman yan doon sa ano mo. Financial accounting mo. 1 less 1 plus I, which is 0.04. Saan yung 0.04? Ayan nga, 4% effective rate. Raised to negative n, yung n nga is 8 years over 0.04. Okay, kuhanin mo ngayon yung factor. Ayan. 6.7327. Okay, yan yung nakuha ko. 6.7327. Anong gagawin mo dyan? Multiply mo doon sa interest. Times 50. Yung 50, saan mo ulit nakuha yan? Itong face times nominal rate. So, 50 siya per year. Ayan. So, tuloy natin dito sa baba. No? Bitin na bitin yung space natin. 6.7327 times 50. 336 0.64. Ayan. Sa final answer, 2 decimal places na lang. Again, sa factors, 4 decimal places, pero sa final answer, most probably, 2 decimal places na lang yan. Pero, again, depende pa rin, no? Sa specific instruction doon sa magiging exam nyo. So, ugaliin natin basahin mabuti yung instruction. Lalo na sa compre, na posibleng magkaroon ng straight problems. Okay. Yan. Yung boards naman, multiple choice naman siya, no? Okay, so pag nakita mong medyo malapit yung sagot mo, medyo confident ka na tama yung ginawa mo. Okay, magkakaproblema ka nga lang kapag straight probs. Ayan, so ang gagawin natin ngayon, i-add natin yung dalawa. Yung 730 na present value ng principal at yung present value ng interest. 730.7 plus 336.64. Ang nakuha natin is 1,067.34. Ayan. Mas malaki ba kaysa dun sa 1,000? Yes. Ibig sabihin, true ba tong statement na to? Ayan, kulay orange. Orange. Ayan. True siya, no? Nung yung effective rate is greater than the nominal rate, discount. Okay? The bond is issued at a discount. Then, nung effective rate is less than the nominal rate, the bond was issued at a premium. Okay? Ayan. Premium, mas malaki yung market price kaysa doon sa face. Discount, mas maliit. Ito, mas maliit yung market price kaysa doon sa face. Okay. Ayan. So, yun yung nominal interest rate and effective interest rate. Okay. So, done na tayo dito. Baka may question kayo, guys. Inom lang ako ng tubig. Unmute lang or raise ng hand. Aba, wala. Walang nagtatanong. Okay. Ayan. Tuloy natin. Dito na sa next na goal natin, which is yung investments. Okay. Next topic natin ito. Investments. Ayan, tuloy na natin dito, no? Yung ibang topics dito na yield curve, yung mga yan, siguro basahin mo na lang siya on your own. Ayan. Yield curve is generally upward sloping, no? Sabi nga nila. Okay, ano pa ba ang topics dyan? Ayan, yield curve. Okay. Okay, so ito, next meeting natin, no, yung bonds and their valuation. Ang topic natin ngayon na di-discuss is yung sa investments naman. O risk and return. Nasaan ka na? Nasaan ka na? Sumobra na ba ako? Ayan. So ito. Scroll. Ito ang hirap kapag kapag hindi natin ginamit yung ebook. Hindi natin magamit kasi. Ayan, risk and rates of return. So makikita mo doon sa syllabus mo. Ayan. Investments yung title niya, no? Pero component niyan, returns and risks. Okay? So yun nga, dito tayo magbe-base sa chapter, 7, 8 ng ebook. Pero dun sa Mindtap nyo, chapter, di ko memorize Chapter 18 yata to. Okay, pero yun nga, no, hindi natin ma-open kanina since mabagal yung internet ko. So baka sa ko lang yun, sa end ko lang. Kayo naman, na-access nyo naman, no? Okay, risk and rates of return. Yan. Dito muna tayo ulit, no? Putting things in perspective. We start this chapter from the basic premise that investors like returns and dislike risk. Hence, they will invest in risky assets only if those assets offer higher expected returns. Okay. So, investors ba tayo? Okay. So, marami siguro sa inyo, no? Na medyo tinatry na mag-invest sa mga securities ngayong pandemic. Siguro, stocks sa PSE or kung hindi man, crypto. Nauuso yung crypto, no? Ayan. Investors tayo kung bumibili tayo ng stocks, bumibili tayo ng coins o tokens o nag-Axie Infinity, no? Pwede rin. O yung iba pang blockchain games, yung mga crypto blades, yung mga yan. Investors tayo. And syempre, para maglabas tayo ng pera, syempre nag-i-expect tayo na may babalik sa atin. Okay. Yung ini-expect natin na babalik sa atin, yun yung returns. Okay, nasaan yung returns na tinatawag. Okay. Syempre, hindi naman tayo sure na pag nag-invest tayo ay kikita lagi yung investment natin, no? Marami ring nalulugi. Lalo na, no, kung halimbawa na FOMO ka, yung tinatawag na fear of missing out. Nung nakitang lumilipad na yung shares, mataas na yung value, tsaka ka bumili kasi natakot kang mapag-iwanan, no? Na FOMO ka. Di mo alam nung pagbili mo, magdi-dip na pala yung presyo, no? Kasi nag-take profit na yung mga whales dun sa taas, no? Naiwan ka ngayon, naiipit ka. So, may risk din na matalo ka pag naglabas ka ng pera. Okay, ayan. So, ito, define natin yung risk and returns. Yan. We define what risk means as it relates to investments. Examine procedures that are used to measure risk and discuss the relationship between risk and return. Investors should understand these concepts. So kung investor ka, dapat daw naiintindihan mo yung concepts na to. As should corporate managers as they develop the plans that will shape the firm's futures. Risk can be measured in different ways, and different conclusions about an asset's riskiness can be reached depending on the measure used. Risk analysis can be confusing, but it will help if you find the following points in mind. If you keep the following points in mind. Yan, basahin natin, no? All business assets are expected to produce cash flows, and the riskiness of an asset is based on the riskiness of its cash flows. The riskier the cash flows, the riskier the assets. Okay. Business assets, ano bang mga example nito? Pwedeng financial assets, no? Yung mga stocks, yung mga investments sa securities, then pwede ring real investment sa property, plant, and equipment, yung mga yan. Okay, and yung assets na yan, syempre, expected na magkaroon ng cash flows from those assets. So, yung riskiness ng asset is based on the riskiness of its cash flows. Gaano ba ka-sure na babalik yung pera? Gaano ba ka-sure na hindi ka malulugi? Okay, risk. Concept ng risk, ayun. Number 2, assets can be categorized as financial assets, especially stocks and bonds. Ayan pala, binanggit dyan. And as real assets such as trucks, machines, and whole businesses. Okay, ayan. In theory, risk analysis for all types of assets is similar and the same fundamental concepts apply to all assets. However, in practice, differences in the types of available data lead to different procedures for stocks, bonds, and real estates. Our focus in this chapter is on financial assets, especially stocks. Yan. We consider the bonds in chapter 7. So, inassume lang niya na tapos na tayo dun sa bond valuation. Pero hindi pa, no, sa case natin. Okay. And we take up real assets in the capital budgeting chapters, especially in chapter 12. So, tingnan mo nga dito. Sa syllabus mo. Yan. Yung next nga natin na magiging topics, bond valuation, stock valuation. Then, tuloy pa natin, no? Nasaan yung capital budgeting. Nasaan ka? Hindi ko makita. Okay, hindi siguro nakalatag ng hiwalay. Okay. Sige. Ayan. So, separate chapters, no, pagdating dito sa returns dun sa ating real assets, tsaka sa financial assets. Okay? Ayan, next natin. A stock's risk can be considered in two ways. Number one, on a standalone or single stock basis. For example, isang stock lang ang hawak mo. Jollibee, no? Halimbawa. Standalone, no, yung risk nun. Or B, in a portfolio context where a number of stocks are combined and their consolidated cash flows are analyzed. So dito, ang ginagawa ng investors yan, nagmamanage sila ng portfolio. Bakit? Tinatawag din kasing diversifiable risk, no? Yung risk sa portfolio, yung portfolio risk. Okay, so pwede nating i-consider na diversifiable siya. Meaning, kapag nag-diversify ka ng holdings mo, mamamanage mo yung risk. Pwede mo siyang ma-mitigate. So, for example, magkakaibang industries yung inawakan mo na stocks. So, kung bumagsak man yung industry na to, pwede siyang mabalance nung increase dun sa iba namang industry. Okay? Diversifiable risk. Ayan. Portfolio context where a number of stocks are combined and their consolidated cash flows are analyzed. There is an important difference between standalone and portfolio risk, and a stock that has a great deal of risk held by itself may be much less risky when held as part of a larger portfolio. Okay, next natin, in a portfolio context, a stock's risk can be divided into two components. One, diversifiable risk, which can be diversified away and is thus of little concern to diversified investors. And B, market risk, which reflects the risk of a general stock market decline and cannot be eliminated by diversification. Excuse me. Only market risk is relevant to rational investors because diversifiable risk can and will be eliminated. Okay. Panglima, a stock with a high market risk must offer a relatively high expected rate of return. So kapag daw mataas yung risk, dapat mag-offer siya ng relatively higher expected rate of return. So the higher the risk, dapat higher return. Okay? So parang siya, no, general rule to attract investors. Ayan. Investors in general are averse to risk. So dito pag-uusapan din yung appetite ng investors. So meron kasing tinatawag na risk averse, risk indifferent, tapos risk loving or risk seeking investors. Generally daw, ang investor ay risk averse. Ano ba ibig sabihin yan? Ibig sabihin, si investor papayag lang siya na mag-increase ang risk kung may kaakibat na increase sa returns. Okay? So parang yun yung natural. Bakit ka papayag na mas mataas yung risk kung bababa yung returns mo? Okay? So ito yung mga investor na rational, no? Parang gets mo agad sila. Bakit yun yung gusto nila? Siyempre, mas mataas yung risk, dapat mas mataas yung return. Risk averse. Okay? Investors in general are risk averse, so they will not buy risky assets unless they are compensated with high expected returns. Madali lang na maintindihan, no?
Sir?
Hello?
Question na po. In layman's po ba, yung risk averse, ayan din po yung parang conservative investor?
Conservative meaning hindi siya basta i-invest kung alam niya na yung returns is hindi stable, ganun. Pwede rin natin
Yes,
sabihin
sir.
ganun. Risk averse. Okay. So ganun naman talaga dapat, no? Hindi naman sa ini-invalidate ko yung point nitong mga ganitong klase ng investor. Pero, bakit ka nga naman tatanggap ng investment na risky pero low return? Wala lang, no? Parang gusto mo lang talaga makisali na dapat may investment din ako dito. Okay. Kahit walang return. So, siguro, kung gano'n ka kayaman, no? Gagawin mo to. Pero, ayan. In general, yan nga. Risk averse yung ating investor. So, salamat doon, Daniela. Okay. Dito naman, risk indifferent. So, ito pwede nating tingnan in two ways yung risk indifferent na attitude. So, una, pwede natin sabihin na kapag pinresentan si investor ng investment na may return dito na given. Okay. Yung return na to, constant. Tapos, yung risk ay taas-baba. Kung si investor ay wala siyang paki dito, no? Wala siyang paki dito sa risk na taas-baba. Ang mahalaga sa kanya, fix yung return niya. Okay lang sa kanya yan. Indifferent siya pagdating sa risk, no? So, ang mahalaga sa kanya, may constant return. Kahit tumaas yung risk, kahit walang kaakibat na pagtaas sa return, okay lang sa kanya. Ang mahalaga, meron siyang return. So, risk indifferent. Okay? Then, yung isa pang way para tingnan natin si risk indifferent attitude. For example, pinresenta naman si investor ng dalawang investment opportunity. Yung isa, high risk, high risk pero high return din, no? Tapos, yung isa naman, low risk pero mas stable yung return. So, kung si investor ay wala siyang masyadong pake kung alin man doon sa investment na yun yung pipiliin niya, pwede rin nating tawaging indifferent si investor. Okay? Yon, risk indifferent. Then ito naman, risk seeking or risk loving. Kapag si investor ay gusto niya lang mag-invest. Okay? Kahit walang maging return o masyadong mataas yung risk. So, for example, tumataya sa wedding. Okay. So, loto na lang para legal tayo, no? Tumataya sa loto si investor na siguro, for example, mga 500,000 yung tinataya niya sa loto. Siyempre, high risk yun, Pwedeng mag-zero yung 500,000 na tinaya niya sa loto. Pero kung tumama naman siya, high risk din, So, gusto niya yun. Risk-loving siya. Okay. Ayan. Risk-seeking. So, yun yung tatlong attitudes ng investors, no? Para lang alam mo rin. Pero in general nga, ayan, investors in general are averse to risk. So, yung tumaya na yun sa loto na 500,000, pwede natin sabihin hindi siya investor, no? Parang gambler siya. So, parang tumaya na rin siya sa sa online sabong. Kung isipin mo, parang hindi siya investor na maituturing. Okay? So, ayan. Purahin lang natin to para hindi siya nakakatakip. Then, number 6, if investors on average think a stock's expected return is too low to compensate for its risk, they will start selling it, driving down its price and boosting its expected return. Conversely, if the expected return on a stock is more than enough to compensate for the risk, people will start buying it, raising its price and thus lowering its expected return. The stock will be in equilibrium with neither buying nor selling pressure when its expected return is exactly sufficient to compensate for its risk. So ito, yung concept nito, pinag-usapan na rin sa financial management na subject, yung FinMan 1. Okay, then ito, standalone risk, the topic of section 8-2, is important in stock analysis primarily as a lead-in to portfolio risk analysis. However, standalone risk is extremely important when analyzing real assets such as capital budgeting projects. Okay. So, ito, learning objectives nyo. Pero dito lang tayo tumingin sa syllabus. Okay. Investments. Yung learning objectives mo. Ayan. Definition of investments. Ayan. Nadaanan naman natin, no? Definition of returns, nadaanan na rin natin. Then ito, yung mga iba't ibang klase ng return. Ano. Expected rate of return, simply stated, ano ba yan? This is the return an investor expects to receive. Okay. Required rate of return naman, from the name itself pa rin, ano? The rate of return an investor requires to make on an investment. So, for example, ang required rate of return is 6%. Then, may dumating na investment opportunity na ang return lang is 5%. Tatanggapin ba ni investor yon kung ang required rate of return niya is 6%? Hindi, no? Kasi nga, kailangan ma-meet yung required rate of return. Then, actual rate of return, yung actual na magiging return ni investor. Market rate of return, the rate of return on the market. So, parang ano lang, no? Self-explanatory yung mga names na yan. Okay. Then, ito, definition of risk, nadaanan na rin natin. Risk, yan yung tendency na o yung chance na matalo yung investment natin. Standalone risk, yan yung risk on a specific asset, no? So, for example nga, yung binigay natin kanina, isang stock lang yung hawak mo, si Jollibee lang. Okay, standalone risk. Pero, mas applicable nga siya sa, sa capital assets o yung investment in real assets. So, for example, may equipment, no? So, yung standalone risk ng equipment na yon, kung magiging profitable ba tayo kapag ganito yung kapag in-avail natin yung equipment na to, yun yung kino-consider, no? Standalone risk. Portfolio risk, kapag naman pinagsama-sama yung a number of different securities, no? So, for example nga, may hawak ka na ganitong stock, Jollibee, for example. Tapos, may hawak ka rin na iba na industry. For example, ano pa ba? Merrimart, mga yan, yung parang pure gold, no? May pure gold ka rin, may pure gold ka na hawak. Tapos, may dito ka pa. May investment ka sa dito. Tapos, ano pa ba? Double Dragon, REIT, so DD REIT, yung mga yan. So, portfolio risk ang tawag kapag yung pinagsama-sama mo yung risks nung holdings mo na yun collectively. Okay? Capital asset pricing model. So, ito medyo formula to, no? Okay. Si capital asset pricing model. So, sulat natin yung formula nito, pero yung example niyan sa susunod na chapters na lang. CAPM is equal to ER yan yung expected return. CAPM is the expected return. Ano formula nito? Check ko nga. Tingnan natin dito kung binigay yung formula niya. Sorry guys. Nablangko ako dito. Given ba yung formula dito sa book natin? Parang hindi niyan binigay, no? Yung formula ng CAPM. Capital Asset Pricing Model. Ayan, CAPM. Okay. O nga, hindi niya rin nabigay dito. So, ito. Sige. Dito natin ipasok si mbasomething.com. Okay. So, magandang segue, no? Para magamit natin siya. Tingnan natin dito. Yung kasi, no? May tendency na makalimutan natin yung formulas kahit inaral natin siya. So, tingnan natin dito. Okay. Kaya lang, hindi ko binabanggit yung pangalan ng channel, no? Kasi, baka mabatas tayo. Okay, tingnan mo dito, may discussion na siya ng Bitcoin 2 years ago pa lang. So, baka kung napanood ko to, siguro nag-invest ako sa Bitcoin. Sayang, hindi ko siya napanood. Nasaan? Ang CAPM. Hanapin natin CAPM. MBA. Ito, okay? So, share ko lang yung yung audio. Yan, naka-share naman. Guys, ito, play na natin, no? I-put into work na natin tong sinadjust ko sa'yo kanina kung gaano siya ka-helpful. Tara, try natin.
CAPM, Capital Asset Pricing Model Explained, in 3 minutes. Imagine you have a friend named Bob with his money safely deposited in a bank at a 5% interest rate per year, and that you have a scary and risky company which also earns an average 5% profit for owners or investors per year. Can you convince Bob to withdraw his money from the bank and invest in your business? No way! If your business is riskier than the bank, then Bob would want an average return much bigger than 5%. Now what if Bob also has some money invested in the general stock market, which is kinda risky, but not as risky as your scary company, and he earns an average profit of 8% per year? Can you offer Bob also 8% to convince him to sell his stock market portfolio and invest in your company instead? Again, no way! If your company is riskier and scarier than the general stock market, then you would have to offer Bob an average return much higher than 8% to reward Bob for his higher risk. So the question is, exactly how much average percentage return should you offer Bob to make his investment worth his risk in your scary company? This percentage is called your cost of equity, and we calculate it using the CAPM, or Capital Asset Pricing Model formula. Don't panic, it's much easier than it looks. The Capital Asset Pricing Model, or CAPM formula, factors in Bob's risk and return from his other investments, and then tells us how much Bob should reasonably expect from your riskier company. That's why your cost of equity is also called your investor's expected return. Would you like to learn the CAPM with more analysis and detail, as well as how to calculate it the easy way? Check out my free step-by-step tutorial video and download my
Ayan, no? Nakikita nyo ba yung formula ng capital asset pricing model? So ito, pwede mo na siyang isulat sa index cards mo. Pero take note, no? Yung iba't ibang authors, magkakaiba-iba lang sila ng nung variables na ginamit. Siya, ang ginamit niya para dun sa expected return is KE, tapos is equal to risk-free rate plus beta times market premium. Okay, pag ito, binasa mo market risk premium ang basa dito. Okay, pero, ayun nga, no? Excuse me. Yung CAPM, hindi muna natin pag-uusapan today. Okay, so I suggest na ito, basahin mo muna or pakinggan mo muna si channel, itong channel na to, para dito sa capital asset pricing model. Okay, kasi maganda yung discussion nga dito. And yun, ito talaga yung naging susi para ipasa ko nung undergrad yung financial management 1 and 2. Okay, buti nga na-discover ko yung channel na to nung undergrad. Kasi sobrang hirap magbasa ng mahabang libro nung mga panahon na yon. Kasi sabay-sabay yung subjects natin, di ba? May law, may tax, may advac, may auditing theory pa. So, depende, no, kung ano yung curriculum mo. Pero sobrang sabay-sabay talaga yung mga subjects na yan. At mahirap hanapan ng time yung bawat isa. Okay, unless puro talaga aral yung gagawin mo. Pero hindi rin suggested yun yung puro aral. Kasi mababurnout ka. Dapat medyo nililibang-libang mo rin yung sarili mo, no? At least, dapat na-incorporate sa pag-aaral mo yung paglilibang. Okay? So, itong channel nga na to, si mbasomething.com, masaya siya magturo, no? Cool lang. Tapos, sasabihin niya lagi sa'yo na, don't panic, it's MBA something only. Okay, ayan, si Cap M. Then ito, yun nga, check out mo. Ito, pwede nating puntahan. Pala, no? Share ko na, may time pa naman tayo. Ito full screen ko lang. Cap M lecture. Okay, pwede mo itong balikan. Makikita mo naman siya sa channel niya.
Hello, I'm back, and welcome once again to another easy lesson or review or tutorial by MBAbullshit.com. So today, or this time, our topic will be on or about CAPM, or the Capital Asset Pricing
Medyo mabagal siya
Model
magsalita at
in the
malakas
field
yung background
of
music.
finance or financial management.
Pero mawawala
It
rin.
sounds scary and complicated, but don't worry, this is just MBA bullshit. And we can cut through the bullshit and you can see how easy
Medyo
and simple
censored yung
it
mga
actually is.
language na ginamit niya, no?
Okay, so just remember, you can always come here, whether you're a business student in college, BBA, or MBA, or if you're an executive who just wants to learn because you don't have time for an MBA, or because you need a refresher from your previous MBA, or if you're a non-business. Okay, so now let's go to the capital asset pricing model. Now, most professors will explain the capital asset pricing model, or CAPM, as a formula, which looks like this. Now, I know that this formula over here can look very scary and intimidating, but please do not panic, because this is actually very simple when I show you step by step how easy it actually is. Okay, so don't worry about it. But in order to allow you to understand it well, I want you to first remove this complicated bullshit from your brain right now, temporarily. We'll get back to it later. Remove it from your brain. Don't panic, and I just want you to look and focus. I just want you to focus on this other thing I'm going to show you now. Okay? You're going to see it's not complicated at all. So I'm going to start by telling you a story. And in the story, I'm going to give you a choice. Let's say I offered you a risk-free investment. Okay? It was an investment, or it's an opportunity for you to earn money by putting your money in my bank. You have a deposit account in my bank, and my bank is guaranteed by the government, and so therefore it is risk-free, zero risk. Okay, for sure the bank will not collapse like what happened in the recent economic crisis. In this case, you are 100% sure that the bank would not collapse. Okay, and you have the opportunity, you have the offer to deposit your money in this bank, and the bank will give you an interest of 2%. Okay, so the 2% here is what we call the risk-free rate. Okay, so let's just say that you can put your money in my bank has no risk, and you can earn 2% interest, or 2% income, or 2% profit on your money by depositing that money with this bank. And then I give you a second choice. Okay, I give you a second choice with an investment which has medium risk. Okay, and for this example, let's just say that the United States stock market, the general stock market, has medium risk. So the bank here, the bank deposit has no risk, or zero risk, and the US general stock market has medium risk, which is also called systematic risk. Now, don't worry so much about the systematic risk here. This is just MBA bullshit. And for now, let's just use the word medium risk, and we can get back to the systematic risk later. Now, it's called systematic risk because it represents the risk of a certain system which is usually used. such as the United States stock market. Okay? But if you don't understand what I just said, don't worry about it. Just forget it for now. For now, we'll just say it's medium risk. Now, what if I also offered you, so I offered you a risk-free investment, a zero risk investment or deposit earning 2%, and I also offered you a medium risk investment. And this medium risk investment would earn you also 2%. Okay? It would also earn you 2%. So, if you had to choose between this investment here or this investment here, which one would you choose? Which one? They earn the same amount, but this one has higher risk than this. Well, if you have at least some intelligence, then for sure you would choose, you would choose this investment and not this one. Why? Because in this investment, you earn 2%, but you have no risk. In this investment, you also earn the same small profit of 2%, or you expect to earn the same small profit of 2%, but you have even higher risk compared to this one over here. So of course, it makes much better sense to put your money here in the no risk investment. Okay? So let me ask you, let's say I was a stockbroker in the United States who trades stocks in the United States, and I want to convince you to move your money away from here and instead put your money here. How would I do that if I'm only giving you 2%? Well, of course, the normal way would be for me to try and offer you more than 2%. And I'd try to offer you extra money, extra profit, or an extra percentage here. That way, it will be worth it for you to move your money from here to here. Because now, you're earning more profit in order to pay you for the extra risk. Okay? So, for this example, let's just say I offered you an extra 6%. Okay? So I offered you an extra 6% return or an extra 6% profit on your money to place your money here instead of here. Okay? So now, these two investments have equal attractiveness. Okay? Let's just call it equal attractiveness. Because here, you only earn 2%, but you've got no risk. Here, you earn 2% plus 6%, but you have medium risk. And medium risk is more than no risk. So now, these two choices should have equal attractiveness. Okay? And so 6%. So what is the return here? 2%. What is the return here? Well, you get the original 2% plus 6%. And that's an example only, okay? And so now you get a total of 8%. All right? Why is this 8%? Because 2% plus the 6%. Now this 6% over here, okay, this is just an example, okay? It could be 7%, it could be 8%, it could be 3% extra. It doesn't, well, it matters, but it depends on the situation. But for our example, I will just use 6%, okay? Because with 6%, we will now get 8%. And that's a nice number, and in some years, that's also approximately the amount that a general stock market might earn, okay? But anyway, that is another story. So this 6% is called a risk premium, okay? It is like a prize, all right? A prize, a prize for winning something. Now, this prize is like a prize I'm giving you because you are willing to accept more risk, okay? So it's like a little boy. If he does more good things, or like maybe he does more work for the house, then you might give him more candy, right? Because if your kid brother or kid sister or your son or your daughter, I don't know, maybe mows the lawn or cuts the grass, cleans the cars, you can give them extra money, or you can give them extra candy or whatever it is that they like. Well, for businessmen like you and me, or businesswomen as well, you also get a prize, and you get a prize for taking more risk. Or you don't get a prize for taking more risk, but you should get a prize for taking more risk. Because you say, hey, I'm taking more risk. So you tell the stockbroker, hey, if you give me only 2%, I'd rather put my money in the bank and get 2%. Why should I put my money with you and get 2% and then expose myself to this risk over here, to this medium risk over here? So because of that, the stockbroker has to offer you an extra 6% called a risk premium or a prize, so that you can earn a total of 8%. And so this now becomes an attractive investment. The same way this is an attractive investment because it's risk-free, this is now an attractive investment because it has a higher return of 8%, even if it has medium risk. Okay? So that, oh, by the way, why is it called premium? Well, it's like when you go shopping. Sometimes it's buy one get one, or buy this chocolate and you get a free T-shirt, right? Well, in marketing language or in marketing bullshit, they call that free T-shirt a premium. They say, oh, it's a premium item, or we're gonna buy this and you get a free premium item, like a free T-shirt. So in that case, the T-shirt is like a prize. It's a prize for buying the cake or whatever, or the chocolate. So in this case, it's also called a premium, but it's not a premium for buying a cake. Instead, it's a premium for investing your money in something a little bit more risky than this here, okay, which has no risk. All right? Well, so these are your two main choices. Well, guess what? I have a third option for you. I have a third investment which you might be interested in putting your money in, okay? And that third investment here has even higher risk than the general stock market of the United States, okay? It has higher risk, okay? And this third investment is maybe a small private company or a medium-sized private company, which is listed as one of the companies in the stock market, but it's only one of the many, many companies in the stock market, okay? Unlike here, this medium risk represents the risk or the average risk of all the companies in the general stock market combined. In this case, you're only investing in one company with higher risk. It's higher because you're not diversified or whatever reason. For whatever reason, let's just pretend. Okay, never mind why, but let's just pretend that this third option is for you to invest in this private or in this individual company with even higher risk than the general stock market. Okay? So now the question is, how much return should this company offer you in profit so that you will put your money here instead of here and instead of here? Or maybe not instead of, but for these three offers to have equal attractiveness to you, meaning, I can put it here, risk-free, 2%. I can put my money here, medium risk, 8%. Or I can put my money here with a certain percentage income of certain percentage income. So the question is, what percentage should this be? 2% here, 8% here, how many percent here? Okay, that is the question which we have to answer, and that is the question which is answered by the capital asset pricing model using that scary bullshit formula that we saw in the beginning. Okay, so the percentage income here is known as the cost of equity. Okay, and that cost of equity, now I know this may sound scary again, cost of equity, wow, don't worry about it, it's just MBA bullshit. It just means that the amount of percentage that this third company should offer you so that it can be a competitive investment against this and this. Okay, now how does the formula come in here? Well, this cost of equity is written as this, K sub E. All right, now your professor or many professors might have might use different letters instead of K sub E. They might say R sub E or E or letter C instead. I don't know. They might have their own. But in the end, they're just talking about the same thing, which is cost of equity. Okay? Now, this KE is part of this formula here. as you can see. So now you can see where this formula comes into play. Because if you want to compute the percentage here, the percentage here that this company needs to offer you, then you need to find out K sub E. And in order to find out what is K sub E, you now use this formula over here. Or in other words, you now use all of this bullshit over here that you see. Okay? So that is what that formula is used for. All right? Oh, by the way, CAPM is the name of the model. It is not a variable that you find in here. Okay? Because you might be saying, where on earth is the CAPM here? I don't see any letter C. I don't see any letter A or P or M. CAPM is just the name of this whole concept. It is the name of this model, or the name of this mathematical formula. Okay? All right. Now, another thing I want to point out is that this K sub E, are these two variables, a letter K and the letter E, or is this just one variable? Okay? Now, this is just one variable. Okay? Do not get confused and think, oh, these are two variables, letter K and a letter E. Okay? I used to make that mistake before when I was bad in math once upon a time. Okay? But thankfully not anymore, because I know how to see things in a very visual way. And that's what I'm sharing with you now. Okay? Now, when you use this formula, you'll be able to find out K sub E, which can be or will be expressed as a percentage like this, so that you can find the right or the correct percentage to put over here. Let's just say that after you've done this computation, let's just say that you have K sub E and you had the figures inputted. You inputted the figures or the numbers here, and after all this computation, you came out with the figure that K sub E equals 8.6% as the cost of equity. Now, this is just an example because we didn't do the actual computation here in this problem. I just want you to see how to use this K sub E. So after doing this computation, you find out that K sub E equals 8.6%. Then, now you know that the cost of equity is 8.6%. And you can go back to the previous problem here, and now you can literally write over here 8.6%. Okay? So now you know that the risk-free rate is 2%, the systematic risk rate or the medium risk rate is 8%, and how about for this higher risk? How much should be offered to you to make this investment just as attractive as this and this? Then this investment should offer you 8.6%. Okay? So it's as simple as that. Now, the question here,
So yun, no? Hindi ko naalala na medyo mahaba rin pala yung discussion niya dito. Pero at least clear, no? Yun nga, wala akong background noon nung undergrad sa capital asset pricing model and dun sa iba pang topics kasi nga medyo hindi ako nag-advance reading nung undergrad. Pero nung pinanood ko yung lectures ni mbasomething.com, nagigets ko siya ng malinaw. Kayo rin ba? Effective ba sa inyo? Yun lang. Sige, tanong ko na rin. Effective ba sa inyo yung approach niya?
Parang po sir, dahil parang lively po nung boses niya. Medyo nakakadala po.
No? Parang no? Effective tapos, lang, chill lang. Sabi niya, wag kang mag-alala. It's just MBA something. Okay? Di ba? Parang dito, hindi kanya tatakutin eh. Hindi kanya, parang sasabihin niya, di ba, pag nakita mo yung libro, makita mo yung formulas, nakaka-overwhelm, no, sa unang tingin. Parang kakabahan ka. Ala, paano ba to i-absorb? Ito, yung approach niya dito, yun, mawawala talaga yung yung kaba. Yun nga lang, medyo lengthy rin pala siya. Ayun, so wala tayong time para ituloy ito. Ilang minutes pa ba? 38. Okay, so ito capital asset pricing model, at least nalaman mo na kung saan siya ginagamit, pero yung mismong computation, siguro next meeting na lang natin. No? Nakita mo na yung risk-free rate kanina, no? 2%, yun yung nandito. Then yung market premium, yung 8% na pinakita niya. Itong B, beta to. Okay, tinatawag din tong systematic risk. Measure of systematic risk, yung beta. Okay, pero yun nga, next meeting na natin pag-usapan. So, yun yung CAPM, ha? Capital Asset Pricing Model, na hindi siya yung variable. Name nga lang siya nung formula, Capital Asset Pricing Model. Ang hinahanap sa Capital Asset Pricing Model is yung expected return or yung cost of equity. Okay? Yung formula, nakita mo na dito. Ayan. Then, yung next natin is yung security market line. Ito, graphical representation lang to ng CAPM model. No? So, makikita mo yung, sige, so, draw natin. Try natin i-draw dito sa gilid. Ayan. Okay. So, dito sa x-axis, ito pala yung x, no? Dito yung y. Dito sa x-axis, makikita mo yung ano dyan, yung beta. Tapos dito naman yung expected return. Okay. Then, yung security market line, makikita mo dito. Isang line dyan yan. Okay. Okay. Tapos, yung risk-free rate, dito yan, mas mababa siya, lamang dun sa market rate, no? Okay. So, pag nag-increase ang market rate, ang expected return, okay. So, paano ba natin yan i-drawing dito? Wait, ayusin natin siya. Medyo magulo, no? Pasensya na, guys. Ayan. Siguro, explain natin to after natin sa capital asset pricing model. Next meeting na lang. Pero, ayan. At least makikita mo yung graph. Then, yung slope ng line na to kasi, yun yung market risk premium. Kaya lang, hindi mo pa siya gamay, yung market risk premium. Kasi nga, hindi pa natin ginagawa yung CAPM. Okay, next meeting na lang yan. So, ikaw, may choice ka kung itutuloy mo yung panonood nito on your own. Kasi madali naman siya, no? Pakikinggan mo lang. Ako nga nung pinapanood ko to, nasa biyahe ako papunta ng school. Galing, province. Kasi umuwi pa ako ng province noon nung nag-aaral ako. Kayo, swerte kayo. Online classes. Siguro habang kumakain, pakikinggan mo to. Bago matulog, pakikinggan mo siya. No? Yung pagod ka na magbasa, kumbaga. Yung wala ka ng energy para magbuklat na libro o tumayo sa kinahihigan mo. Yan, manood ka na lang nito ni mbasomething.com. At least productive ka pa rin kahit patulog ka na. Okay. Ayan. So, medyo na tayo, no? Mabibiti na tayo. Ayan. So, at least ngayon may overview ka ng CAPM. Then, ito utang ko sa'yo, yung security market line and yung mismong computation ng capital asset pricing model. Next meeting yan. Pero basically, na-cover naman natin yung mga to. Ayan, pati ito, no? Sa taas. Ayan. So, tuloy natin dito sa dalawang ito. Then, ito, try natin tapusin. Bond and stock valuation. Next meeting. Okay. Ayan. Huwag kayong matakot. Madali lang tong Feynman. Medyo nakaka-overwhelm lang sa unang tingin yung formulas. Okay. Guys, kamusta? Na-absorb nyo ba? Gets nyo ba? Hingi lang ako ng feedback, guys. May mag-unmute ba?
Clear pa naman po, sir. Medyo nagre-refresh pa lang po dahil nung galing po sa last sem, medyo lito pa rin po. So, medyo nakli-clear up na po ngayon, kumbaga.
Ayan.
Para po sa akin.
Okay. Thanks, Ian. Para dun sa iba, agree ba kayo? Medyo malinaw ba ngayon? Raise na lang ng hand siguro.
Yes po, sir.
Ayan, si Daniela. Then si Nicolai. Si Irish. Si Eli. Okay, si Reunis. Okay. Sige ha. So next meeting, tuloy-tuloy na tayo, no? Pasensya na ulit, absent ako last meeting and today na late ako. So ngayon, tuloy-tuloy natin to hanggang matapos na yung SEM, no? Sana. Okay. Kasi yun pala, no? Tumawag din sa akin si Sir Ramil kagabi. Sabi niya, yung previous daw na kompre, parang nagka-problema yung ibang students sa financial management. na topic. Bukod sa tax, no? Yung tax daw talagang magulo rin daw yung nangyaring result ng kompre sa tax. So, yun. Yung Finman daw, magkakaroon din ng refresher para doon sa mga 4th year. Pero bandang November pa daw. Yeah. So, sana sa atin, sana ma-handle ko ng maayos ngayon yung Finman 2 para next na kompre. Solid yung ano natin, no? Yung results pagdating sa Finman. Kaya natin yan. Okay. Good luck, guys. No? Maraming salamat sa pag-attend. Sana may natutunan ka today. Bye-bye. Eat your lunch na. Stop ko na
Thank you
pala.
po, sir.
Thank you din.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you din.
Thank you, sir.